not there yet?
What? No, we're getting there now.
Okay.
But I said before we get there, I thought Steve should send out the link one more time on Twitter to say, hey, everybody, come on in. Steve has thoughts on the Toronto Maple Leafs. And we do too. And
we have 40 minutes left.
We have 40 minutes left.
It's better be all Steve loves Brad Treliving.
I'll say this as we are waiting for the segment to start. Brad did speak to the media.
Oh, give me this.
And I'll give you some quotes here.
Because this happened like while we were recording, right? Or like just before?
It did. The major quote that seems to be making the round, Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
Did you tweeted it out?
Yes.
Major quote that seems to be making the rounds. By the way, share this video with your friends if they're angry Leaf fans.
I haven't seen any of the quotes.
Do it right now. Bring them in. Bring them in. Bring them in. Bring those Leaf fans in.
All right, everyone gather around. Gather around.
You're going to love the way this starts.
It's Canada. Take
You're
off
going to
your
love.
shoes. Yeah.
You're going to love the way this starts.
Okay.
Today isn't the autopsy day. Today isn't the autopsy day.
Because he still has a job, so.
There's a second half to this quote, but I just want to, how does that land? Today isn't the autopsy day.
You know what dead bodies don't usually do? Play over a dozen more games.
I think that backs Brad's point, actually.
No. I have a different takeaway. That's that a dead body is about to play more than 12 games. They suck. They stink. They're unwatchable. Today was so disappointing, and now I still got to watch them. This is as disappointed as I've been as a Leafs fan in the organization as a whole in a very long time.
I'll take the responsibility for our season. I don't look at today as autopsy day. We've got 19 games to go. Can you believe it's that many?
Oh, my goodness.
But I think there's a whole host of reasons we are where we are. And I think
Are you the host?
I think the Leafs will probably, they would echo what Keith Pelly wrote to season ticket holders. Oh, we had a number of key injuries.
Thanks for the money, jerk. Oh,
compressed
that's
schedule.
not what okay, sorry.
Yeah, compressed schedule. But
they were the only one with the compressed schedule.
Yes, actually, Toronto's the only one who didn't benefit from the Olympic break.
Yeah, Leafs had to play 100 games, everyone else 82. So it's crazy they still have as few points as they do.
He was asked, will the Leafs be a playoff team next year? Treliving said, we're going to get to that once we get through this year. Today's not the day for that. There's a change that has to occur. There's changes that we need to make, and that's not for today. So the Leafs can't commit to being a playoff team next year. Well, listen, even if they had said that, I would have been like, okay, well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
I said what I said earlier, and if you didn't see it, I forgive you. There's a lot of content. Congrats on Hockey Content Christmas, everyone. I'd fire him today. Today.
We got off to a poor start this season.
Oh.
I look from my standpoint.
Is it currently the start?
There are some roster construction issues.
Okay.
Damn, that's crazy.
You know that
built
those roster issues were the same issues that they had coming into the season and were in October and November and December and January and February. The roster hasn't changed because he didn't make a deal or an acquisition in that entire time.
And I refuse as much as I am like, yeah, no, fire him literally this moment with Brad Treliving. It all goes back to letting a lame duck president decide we're not trading anyone from the core four. We're satisfied to just go down with the ship. And then when the ship went down, they were like, well, no one could have predicted this. This is Keith Pelly. It's Brad Treliving, but it's Keith Pelly.
And it's Shanahan, too. It's all a big, long... I always say the problem with history...
Yeah, but Shanahan is Keith Pelly for the purpose of this exercise.
Sure.
He's the one who made that decision.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
so that's, Shannon, we can't fire him is what I'm getting at, right? But yeah, no, Brad, I don't think can be GM of this team anymore.
According to Nick Barden, and this is where I'm getting all the quotes from. Thank you, Nick. He said,
Shout out the Bard card.
Bard said, despite sitting out 2 games for roster management purposes, the Maple Leafs never traded Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
That's so embarrassing.
Treliving said, with term left on his contract, we required a return we thought would be fair, and nobody met that level. Now, the Leafs walked away from
but
today.
You sat him because you had no idea what you were doing. You sit guys who are on the verge of being traded. You sat them because you have no idea what you're doing. You obviously didn't have a suitor that was close. Mm-hmm. You don't know what you're doing.
The prices were high.
I wouldn't want Ryan Suter.
Ryan Suter?
A Suter that was
Oh.
What about Hughes?
Boo!
What about Hughes?
close. Hugh, I'd consider it.
Now,
I'm surprised it took you a second.
Easton Cowan and Jacob Quillen were sent to the Marlies as a paper transaction, so they'll be eligible for the Calder Cup playoffs. So that means Easton Cowan will go down to the Marlies once this Leaf season is
How
over.
bummed do you
That's
think Craig
so
Berube is going to
stupid.
be when he realizes it was only a paper transaction?
I don't know if the Marlies are going to make the playoffs, are they? I don't even know what the record is.
I'm not sure.
You know what? Don't worry about it. Hey.
So this is
That's
so that
why-
he's eligible for the AHL playoffs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Conversation for a different day, Steve. Who cares?
No, I can
No,
walk and chew gum.
Yeah.
Treliving did say he anticipates they'll use more Marlies players throughout the remainder of the season, too. Now, I want to, before we get to who they traded and what they got back, I think it's important to know that James Myrtle, friend of the show, longtime friend of the show,
Not my friggin' friend.
did a hit with JD Bunkus this morning. And he said the chances of Berube coming back are nil. And it's entirely possible that Berube just gets hired out of this contract by another team because he's the guy that is in demand. And they have Derek Lalonde there if they decide to just not have Craig do the last few games. Although the lack of decision-making with this franchise, who knows? And I found it interesting that they said, we anticipate we're going to use more Marlies throughout the remainder of the season too. James alluded to the fact, and it's clear. This is clear. It's very clear. What management wants and what the coach will do are two different things. Why do you have Easton Cowan playing fourth line minutes? Why do you never move Scott Laughton up the lineup, who is now traded? Why do you have
For crazy value.
Why do you have Calle Yarncroke switching in for a guy that is going to be part of the big future here?
Well, to bump his trade value so that you don't trade him.
This is a team.
I'm so disappointed. Oh my
This is a team that management and coaches are not getting along. Berube will be gone, like we said. They want to look at Quillen. They want a more. Every time Quillen's called up, he plays like 5 minutes. Management wants to know what they have with this guy. Another guy that I think we've been talking about a lot that moves a puck and they could use back there is, this is crazy, Will Villeneuve, who's having a great year with the Marlies.
completely psychotic. We're still having this conversation.
Luke Hames has had 8 goals in his last 10 games. You might want to have a look at him at the NHL level for a couple of games.
Bo Grew is your leading scorer. 50 points in 53 games, 27 goals. Actually scores on the power play. He has 27 goals. The next closest guy is 18.
Berube is famous for not using Marlies. Look at Alex Steves and the success he's had in Boston this year. And so Berube, for me, we don't need to have that conversation. He was fired when Ottawa came into Toronto and limited the Leafs to, I think the shots were 16-2, and they almost went 20 minutes without a shot. You're done. He could coach the last 19 games. I hope he doesn't because I want them to have a look at things. Berube's done. That's off the table. Let's not talk about that. Let's not waste our time. But what is clear to me, yesterday the prices were sky high. Nick Waugh, we were able to get a first and I think a conditional fifth out of Colorado
That's correct. Yeah.
for Nick Waugh because the Cadre deal, the original one, fell through. So he got lucky there. And then we waited and we waited and we waited. And
The
Bobby,
Leafs waited.
yeah. Well, we
I
waited
didn't
for
do
the
any. I didn't do anything.
I waited for the Leafs to stop waiting.
Yeah.
I was waiting, Jesse.
Yeah, I didn't make any transactions.
Bobby
I don't run
McMahon
the
told James Duthie this afternoon that he got a call from his agent after the deadline, telling him he'd been traded. What happened here, and I'm going to show you. Bobby McMahon was traded for a second and a fourth. Michael McCarron was traded for a second. Bobby McMahon is a second and a fourth. Scott Laughton is a third. Let me tell you something, guys. The Leafs held on, and they held on, and the market fell away.
And who
They
telegraphed that?
had they
who
done
telegraphed
this-
that for weeks?
Had they done this yesterday, they were we need to get a first for Bobby McMahon. We need to get a first for Bobby McMahon. And then with an hour to go, they said, And TSN reported this. Okay, well, we won't do a first now. We can do a second.
They should have moved Scott Laughton and McMann in January.
Yes.
February, mid-Feb, we can't do mid-Feb, before the Olympic break. Anytime before that, like you're getting a first for Scott Laughton.
Sometimes
they waited and waited because they were convinced that this team was better than they are, and there was so much evidence that this team is bad.
They
hurts.
turned, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think this is important. If we're going to ratchet Steve up, okay? They turned Nikita Grabankin and next year's first-round pick into a third-round pick. And
a couple fourths if you want to split hair.
a couple of fourths. No. Well, there's no fourths in the Laughton deal.
The original one.
Oh, in the original
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Okay,
they
fair.
got draft picks from Philly in the Laughton deal.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
They did not trade OEL. They also did not trade Yarncroke. They also did not trade Stetcher. They also did not trade Nick Robertson, who has had a trade request, and Kevin Weeks alluded to doesn't want to be here.
Benoit, Carlo. You're telling me you couldn't have got a similar package to the Falk deal for OEL? Who makes less?
Yeah.
He's older, not by much. He has more term, not by much. And again, he makes less. You're telling me that package wasn't there? Oh my God. Riley Carlo, McCabe Stetcher, Benoit Ekman Larson. Their D-core's untouched? Question mark. Fired. I would go to the Ford Performance Center.
By the way, Michelli's still there too.
Oh,
And Domi's back.
at least Michelli's in RFA.
And you know Domi's back at center.
Oh, that's great.
With Juan
that's good.
Mottenbaum.
I can't wait to spend 2.5 hours watching that. That's so good. Oh, frig. That's so good. I'm so stoked about that. Thank you. Thank you. May I have another? I would go to the Ford Performance Center and I would deadbolt the office. I'd weld it shut. I would, whatever they did at the beginning of the first Mummy movie to make sure he doesn't get out.
I've never seen The Mummy.
Are you serious?
No, I've never.
I think you're the only person in the world.
Who stars in that?
Rachel Weisz
Rachel
and Brendan
Weisz?
Fraser.
And Brendan Fraser.
When did it come out?
When we were in...
Time ago.
Yeah, probably 25, 30 years ago now.
And don't look at me like I'm old. You were prime watching The Mummy age when that movie came out.
You were.
I don't know.
How dare you?
I had such a huge crush on Rachel Weisz, too.
Who the frig didn't?
Yeah, her and Natalie Portman.
My mood has been lifted just by thinking of her.
Yes. She's married to James Bond.
Oh my God.
Is she?
Daniel Radcliffe.
Which one?
Or not Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel
She's
Radcliffe.
married to James Bond, Daniel Craig. They've been married for like 15 years.
Now that'd be a great movie.
Yeah.
That'd be a great
Which
movie.
Daniel am I married to?
Ah, who the hell are you?
I love Lamora.
Freaky Friday, James Bond, and Harry Potter switch lives. I'd rather talk about this than the job the Leafs did. Where were we?
They walked away from the deadline with a first.
Yeah, when they
second.
drop all those massive blocks and they shut the pyramid in.
Yeah.
And they seal it with a bunch of spells and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, that's right.
That is what I would do with the Ford Performance Center.
I think it's inexcusable to still have Yarncroke and Stetcher in your lineup, in your system. Those are UFAs that anything is better than nothing.
A conditional seventh wasn't available?
A conditional bag of
Petrie got a
pucks.
conditional seventh.
Give them away.
Thank you for mentioning Jeff Petrie and like Lucas Reichel and David Kampf, who didn't even play a full friggin' season.
Lucas
And
Reichel
you
and
got
Nick Foligno.
nothing for some of the and Nick Foligno.
Lucas Reichel.
The captain of a team.
Lucas Reichel and David Kampf, both guys got 6th round picks.
David Kampf, who they just let go for nothing because his contract was too much, apparently. And now he got an asset for Vancouver.
Now, they would have never gotten that for Kampf because Berube was done with him.
Kampf would have been useful to this team when they had no centers playing. And they messed up whatever relationship they had with him by just making him go to the Marlies no matter what, when he could have been useful in the NHL.
And they could have
roster.
He could have made the opening day lineup because
if
Scott Laughton's
if they had
injured.
waited a week,
And Cowan
would have been fine. He would have been on the team, no problem.
They didn't need to bring up
now
Cowan.
they make decisions.
They didn't need to. Well, Cowan made the team. Okay, well then send Cowan down for a little bit, and somebody's going to get injured, and he'll come up.
Hey kid, sorry, them's the breaks. Check still arrives on time. See you soon. Holy
The list of mistakes that the Leafs have made in the last calendar year is so lengthy.
I find it interesting that Brad Treliving 3 separate times this year, or is it 2, has come out publicly and said, I support Craig Berube. because I don't think Craig Berube supports Brad.
No, and we've been yearning hilariously for the Kyle Dubas days over the past little bit. Some people are still very stubbornly steadfast against it. And listen, he made mistakes. He certainly did. I
haven't been yearning for the Kyle Dubas days.
I
think Kyle Dubas has some real strength.
Here's what I yearn for from the Kyle Dubas days. When the coach and GM were aligned, I'm sure they didn't agree on everything, but you had Babcock actively working against Kyle Dubas like a spoiled brat.
Mm-hmm.
Then he gets fired. Sheldon Keefe comes on. And they start actually agreeing on things, and they were on the same page. Brad comes in with Keefe, and for some reason, there's this year-long death march. They had that crazy, 25-hour meeting or whatever it was, and then they don't win in the playoffs, and you fire him anyway, like we all knew you were going to. And then Craig Berube and Brad Treliving got along for
a season.
Optimistically, half of each of their tenures. That's miserable. 5 assistant general managers. Brad Treliving as the general manager and Shane Doan as the assistant to the general manager. That is a 7-person team in the front office, not including everyone who works for them. What on God's green earth do you mean you ran out of time? None of you show up to work tomorrow.
Well, the Brandon Carlo thing I want to talk about, because last year, and this is the rumor and this is the story, is the Leafs were, and Steve's going to hit the roof in a second, trying to get Rasmus Andersson. And the story goes, unconfirmed, that as if the Flames were ever going to do business with the Leafs, at the last second,
we've been saying that for over a year, and they never.
At the last second, they had to pivot to Brandon Carlo right before the trade deadline hit. And the reason it was only a top 5 protected pick is because Brad knew that he couldn't get through a deadline without making a right-handed shot defenseman a Toronto Maple Leaf, right? Needed to get one. And they were willing to move Minton, and they were willing to move the first. But Boston said, and rightfully so, yeah, we're not taking any protection on that beyond 5 picks.
Boston said LMAO. All the way to a
And had the Leafs included a third in that pick, they could have got Marchand too. Could have saved the trade. But instead, that conditional third, which upgraded to a second, went to Florida. Marchand went to Florida with that.
They might literally be Stanley Cup champions.
Those trades were made at essentially the same time.
Yeah. Boy, one thing we've never had to do is talk about the Leafs on their way down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we haven't. They were just down.
They were in the basement. They were where they are now.
Yeah.
Which is not the basement.
Which is the worst.
The basement is actually better.
Yeah.
The basement is far better.
We're just on the stairs, sort of looking into the basement.
Yeah. And then you have to tumble down them a little bit, Peter Griffin style. And they're still on the way down.
How do you feel like you are handling this?
Still getting used to it. It's only sent me to the ER once.
That's a wild thing to say.
It is a wild thing to say. Also, don't overdo anti-inflammatories, kids. I'm getting real tired about being right with, listen, Ducks, wrong. Red Wings, wrong. I've been wrong about a bunch of teams. I'm going to need you to point to when I've been wrong about the Leafs. For years and years and years, we telegraphed on the show so extensively every single issue they were not just were encountering, were going to encounter. The Marner Nylander choice, you got to do something here. You can't keep going with the core 4. They locked themselves into that fate. Guys, you're not a playoff team. You got to get your work done. You got to get your work done early. Hurry up, hurry up. They left it to the last minute, and they're left pissing into the wind. getting pennies on the dollar for McMann and pennies on the dollar for Laughton. Having a condition on the trade, if we make the playoffs, it becomes a second when they're not even in the playoffs, and it won't even be a second this year, I'm pretty sure.
You have to wonder, too, the first rounder that Edmonton sent to Chicago. I think Oilers fans and I think Leafs fans would be much happier.
Oh, you missed the boat.
If the Leafs hadn't have missed the boat there. And
You,
I think
you completely missed the boat.
That's where the market fell out.
And think of the conditional pick you could have potentially got from Edmonton based on like playoff performance or something, and then you're not making a playoff based bonus deal with the Kings, who are not even in a playoff spot. We said, don't wait. Stop waiting. What was the illusion? What was the illusion? You were going to get in and you were going to play the role of the 2021 Montreal Canadiens? Who's Carey Price?
Who's Shea Weber?
Who's Shea Weber?
Who's Phil Deneau?
Who's Phil Deneau? Oh, the fans, they're just so loud and crazy. You'd go crazy too if you saw obvious problems right in front of your face and no one was doing anything about it. And now here we are today in one of the worst positions in the entire 32-team National Hockey League. Sorry if I'm not in a good mood about it.
And Darren Dreger saying yesterday on Overdrive that Toronto's going to have a hard time attracting players. Which, by the way,
did Darren say that? Did Darren Dreger say that?
He did say that.
Did he say that? That's good. Thanks for all your help in 2019 there, bud. He loves this place.
Well,
he loves his team.
I checked in with some people
Always
that I know,
helpful.
and there was significant pushback within the league on that comment. So
Good.
all hope is not lost. That's one person's opinion. I worry about whose opinion that is, though. And I think that's an important one. Now, Jess.
Does the dude who's tight with Darren Ferris have that opinion? Yeah? Yeah?
I wasn't suggesting that. I have no idea where that came from.
That's just nakedly true. Like, I'm not even calling a guy out. Would someone like to counter the authenticity of what I just said?
Well,
I'm so sick of, like, for years, like, it's just, we're the scientist everyone ignores in every disaster movie.
It's
all
literally-
right,
It's
Mr.
Jurassic
Scientist.
Yeah.
Park. It's Jurassic Park. You're saying
Yes!
the dinosaurs are going to come alive and eat you.
We are Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
We're whoever it was in The Day After Tomorrow.
have you ever seen the movie Don't Look Up?
Yes!
Yeah, that's a great movie.
That's
I love
That's
that
closer to reality.
That's what
I'm
this
Leo
is.
DiCaprio going into the microphone, dead into the camera. Do something! There's an asteroid! And then the president of your favorite hockey team calls the asteroid and says, "We're not moving you."
Right.
And now we're here. Thanks, guys. Thanks, all involved.
Before the deadline, we set the over-under at 3.5 moves. They made 3 moves. That leaves me disappointed. You could spell out everything they should do, and once again, they've decided not to do them.
And Brad talked about this not being autopsy day. Like, you might go, well, look at the Nick Waugh trade. There's your saving grace. That pick isn't until next friggin' year.
Mm-hmm.
And
Unless somehow you find a way for someone to give you a 2026 first for your 2027 first, which they're probably not going
Or
to do.
if you just move that for an asset, like a player.
Or
you know?
move that for an asset. Well, I'd love to know.
I do want you to know,
It's gonna be.
as a Leaf fan, if you're watching this, the Leafs do not have a pick in the first 2 rounds of this draft.
I think it's better that they do give that pick to Boston this season. I think I'm an outlier amongst Leaf fans who kind of want to try and get the top first overall pick or a top 5 pick. But if they don't, I am perfectly fine with giving that pick to Boston. Like, you don't want to get into a situation where they're bad again next year and there's potentially in just unprotected pick going to Philly or Boston. You don't want to get into that situation.
I'm sorry.
This could be a long-term thing. That's the little sidebar about this whole thing that nobody kind of wants to touch. Some people want to touch it because they hate us, Leaf fans.
That's
but the Leafs could be in trouble here for a number of years. I'm hopeful, and I think there's an avenue to do a quick retool here. But if things are truly as south as they could be potentially, if the rest of the lineup can't turn into something and they can't flip the assets and the GM stays here, they could miss the playoffs again next year. And then you're talking about the Matthews thing where he doesn't want to stick around because he's not into losing.
Oh, they love talking about that.
Listen, today's not this year's autopsy. I don't know why you're doing next year's autopsy also. Why worry about something that's not going to happen? It's also kind of comparable to Chernobyl. And remember that scene?
Yes, yeah.
Remember that scene?
The Leafs don't want to talk about that because they won't ever, and they don't even want to talk about today and the end of the season. But that is very close to reality, and it's not too distant of the future.
And not an easy path back with not a lot of assets to get the team back to where it needs to be. Right? I know Chris Tanev's missed most of the year. Guy's going to be 37 next year. How much are you putting on him? OEL has had a great year. He's 35.
That's why it was extra embarrassing that Keith Pelly puts down Chris Tanev as like one of the reasons that this team is bad. And if we didn't have injuries and Tanev was in the lineup, we might be good. That can't be your saving grace. That is an old man who's one injury away from never playing hockey again and might have already had that injury that can prevent him from never playing hockey again.
Victor Hedman, Braden Point, Anthony Cirelli, Nick Paul, just go down the laundry list and look at Tampa, just running over everybody. They're not here to sell jerseys. They're here to sell fantasy. They're here to sell a team that isn't. And I'm done with the fantasy. Adam made me laugh myself into tears and a headache by saying they don't have a first or second this year.
You knew that.
Yeah.
I don't know why that was a surprise to you.
It's not that it was a surprise. It's that I hadn't heard it said out loud in plain English. How the shit in a deadline where you're selling, do you not have a first or a second heading into this year's draft?
Well, they do. It's just there's conditions on it.
Brad was asked about the lackluster return for Laughton, and he said, well, the market dictates. And I think part of the problem is that, okay, let's take him at his word. The rest of the league were not interested in Leaf players. Fine. I will believe that sentiment for a second. But let me ask you this. Why? Could it be because you should have fired your coach in December? Mm-hmm. Is it because your coach has been playing a system that does not work for this group, would not try anything new? You know what the Oilers did when they had a coach who was successful the year before, won a division with, and he started and he had a bad 20 games with them, and he tried to implement a new defensive system, and McDavid and Draisaitl weren't scoring, and they were getting outscored 8-1 to start the season? You know what they did? They fired him. They fired him. The Leafs did not. The Leafs fired their power play coach, who led to a minor bump, and that is it.
They were good for like a week and a half and did a victory lap about it.
It's unbelievable to me. And I said this in our videos, and I think this is something that Leafs Nation, the ones of you that are here, need to hear. Brad Treliving has a reputation of being somebody who has a hard time making a decision. I have heard it time and time and time again.
We were told that the day he signed here, and it's unbelievable how true it was.
From the sources that I talked to, everybody, inside, outside, everybody who knows somebody who's dealt with, says it's hard to get a definitive answer out of Brad about anything. And I think
he doesn't even have answers about his answers.
If I am to take him at his word that the market was not there for a Scott Laughton or a Bobby McMann or whatever, first off, then you misread the market.
Yep.
Number two, the reason it's not is because especially Scott Laughton's numbers don't look great if you haven't watched him. He's played awesome. I love Scott Laughton, and I wish him all the best. He's played awesome. The reason his numbers look like shit is because you got a head coach who's literally drumming the life out of this team. You guys saw yesterday, Berube screaming at the players. Max Domi turned his back turned his back on him.
Oh, I know.
None of them were even listening.
That was embarrassing for everybody involved.
This is so over. This is so over.
Berube plays a terrible system of hockey that doesn't suit his players. And his solution to that is by continuing to play that system of hockey. And the GM can't make moves to improve the roster because he's afraid of making moves in either direction. And now we just have I didn't want to swear, but cluster of just bad management on every level of this organization. Keith Pelly fired a bunch of presidents that ran these different teams that were at least people who understood the sport and the money and business side so that they could be a medium point in between the president and the overseer and the board. And he got rid of those people because Rogers loves cuts. And then now they've been left with a GM who's out of his depth and a head coach who nobody can get rid of.
And a CEO,
it's a disaster.
Jesse, and a CEO that you can't convince me is prepared for this.
No, a CEO
so
who
out of his
doesn't
depth.
know what he's doing and has too much responsibility and got rid of people that could have really helped him with the responsibilities now that he now has.
And if he wanted to get rid of them, he didn't replace them.
Exactly.
Who on earth-
he got rid of the positions.
Who on earth is equipped to run 6 sports teams
Nobody.
at once?
He's the president of all of them.
2
the
days ago.
arrogance, the hubris from the people who signed the checks down to the guy who took the job. Mostly the people who signed the checks because, listen, the check is a check. I'll take the check. If, shitty job.
I'll try it. I'll give
Shitty
it a
job,
try.
good job. I get the check either way, right? The idea that came across their desk as an idea. Hey, what if we had one guy run 6 teams? The fact that got passed, what if we tried this and wasn't laughed out of the room is so deeply concerning.
Well, I'll tell you something. It went largely under the radar, but the TFC grabbed a pretty massive star out of the EPL who's coming back here. And
Wasn't he under the second league?
Oh, he's in the second league. Yeah, he had played in the EPL, but the team had been demoted. He wants to get back on the U.S. national team's last name Sargent. And at the press conference, Josh Cloak from The Athletic was there and asked Keith, who was at the press conference, questions about this. And Keith said, this ain't the day to talk about the Leafs. And I get that.
When is it?
I get that. But the fact that Keith Pelly is there.
That's I'm so glad that you got to there. Because Keith Pelly should not be at these press conferences.
You are
There
the
should be
business manager.
Somebody he employed to run the team to be at these press conferences.
And Jesse, you know who was? The general manager. This is the thing. If Brad wants to make a trade, the only person he's got to get approval from is Keith.
Yeah, Adam,
Keith.
here, pull it up.
What? Pull what up?
Pull up the Keith Pelly press conference from today. It's the trade deadline. Pull it up.
Yeah.
Pull it up.
He was happy to be there when they were bringing somebody in.
Yeah.
Grossly. Who's doing a good job? Name one guy. Name the CEO. Name an executive. Name a coach. Name a player
Sam Kim.
who
and
is
Jordan
playing to the
Bean.
best of their ability. Sam Kim and Jordan Bean. That's a damn good answer.
They are.
Oh, yeah.
Damn good answer.
Oh, we also had a good
and
season.
Oliver Ekman Larson.
Yeah, he's having a good season.
And that's about it. And Steve, you know what? All Steve Sullivan has done is stood there on the bench in his nice suit and glasses. And
Power plays
laces
look
smile.
nice under Steve Sullivan.
All
PKs
right,
look good.
let's go with the list of the sinless. Oliver Ekman Larson, Steve Sullivan, Sam Kim, Jordan Bean,
I'll say Derek Lalonde.
Carlton.
Wow.
PK looks good.
Derek Lalonde,
PK looks real good.
Does
He's running
Carlton
it.
make the list?
Carlton. Blameless.
Oh, Dennis Hildeby.
Dennis Hildeby.
Hey, there is something. Yeah.
Okay, well then to that I'll add Jacob McQuillan.
Yes.
And let's go Haley Wickenheiser because she's a doctor.
That's fair.
The only executive.
Joe Bowen in his last season. Oh. I got mixed reaction.
All right, let me give you this.
Stay safe, gorgeous.
Treliving said 0-4-2 on this 0-4-2 skid. Remember, they have not won since the Western road trip before the Olympics.
Uh-huh.
He said, we came out flat, and
That's
it's
so long ago.
I know.
Bro.
Steve and
Bro,
Jesse, calendar month.
Holy shit.
Hey, it's March 6th. The last win was on March 5th or February 5th. It's been a calendar month.
Since we've seen the Leafs win a game.
Win a game.
Jeez.
Now, There hasn't been a calendar month worth of play, but you know what I'm saying.
It's still a long time.
Sorry, I was just puttering around on the AHL website real quick before you keep going, Adam. The 3 of the top 5 teams in the AHL belong to Atlantic Division teams.
Excellent.
This is going to get so much worse before it gets better.
True Living on the Leafs 0-4-2 skid coming out of the Olympic break. We came out of the break flat, and it's important for us to find out why. I can't give you a good reason. It's not anything we anticipated. We're pros. We're in the best league in the world. It's a privilege to play in this league. And here's the highlight. We've got to compete as such. And you know, watching that Rangers game last night, that the Leafs fell to pieces after the third Rangers goal. And you know, I know what this looks like. That's not falling to pieces because you're mentally fragile. That's falling to pieces because, you know what? Fuck this.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you're in the talent evaluation business, and you flunked. Beginning, middle, end. Yeah, it's the NHL. It's hard. It's yeah. I get it. You didn't pull the rug. You didn't pull the chute.
They pulled the rug.
When you should. Oh, they pulled the rug. You didn't pull the chute when you should have. And then you got your show run at the trade deadline. You made one deal ahead of the trade deadline, and it's the one you did the best in. Should we take any lessons from that? Are we noticing? Are we making observations? Holy shit, guys. Fans can hold your hands through this. It's abysmal.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in anyone coming back. Ugh. For what? For what reason?
So with that, and I think you're right, and you would be right to not invest any of your time watching the Toronto Maple Leafs the rest of the way, but we will be watching.
Oh, you should definitely still tune into LFR and the SDP.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll just tell you how it went.